Yachad na'amod, kulanu bishvil echad, echad bishvil kulam, ad sheneshane olam. These Hebrew words are probably unfamiliar to you, and they mean very little to those who don't know their true meaning. I sang these words last March, yet I didn't know their true meaning until I looked more closely at the significance behind them. It turns out that they are more impactful than you may think. As many of you may know, I'm a member of Hazamir, the International Jewish High School Choir. While I could talk all day about the significance of my 2 years in Hazamir, I want to discuss the Hebrew verse I just mentioned. It is the chorus to the song sung exclusively by the seniors who are graduating from Hazamir during the gala concert at Lincoln Center. Allow me to repeat it. Yachad na'amod, kulanu bishvil echad, echad bishvil kulam, ad sheneshane olam. In English, this means, together we shall stand, all for one for all, until the world is changed. All for one for all. They are 6 of the most valiant words that anybody can say. Yet, what do these words even mean? When they are used, it's because there is a mission that can only be completed when those involved stand together, unified with one common goal, letting nothing stand in their way. There are specific examples of this rallying cry that comes to mind. Let's go back to the era of the Second Temple, where the Syrian Greeks were attempting to disintegrate the Jewish people, not just as a religion, but as a nation. The high priest, Matityahu, famously cried out, "Mila Hashem Elai, whoever is for God, follow me." As the story goes, Matityahu and his 5 sons, the Maccabees, unite the people in an effort to bring down Antiochus and the Syrian Greek army. While Matityahu did not use the traditional all for one for all motto, this rallying cry of his brought the people together in order to conquer those who oppressed them. While Matityahu was an influential figure in Jewish history, the real origins of the saying, all for one for all, lie in Alexander Dumas' The Three Musketeers. The book follows the adventures of a man by the name of D'Artagnan, who coins the phrase for Athos, Porthos, and Aramis, the Three Musketeers. This phrase, this fearless call for unity, guides the 3 musketeers through their perils. Those 6 words were all they needed to give them the strength to take on their challenges together. So when the phrase all for one for all comes to mind, there's a definitive common denominator when it is used, whether it be found in history or in literature. There is a struggle, an oppression that percolates through the air, and the only way to tackle it is by uniting until the world is changed, even if only a few people feel this difference. So when I and the rest of the seniors sang, Kulanu bishvil echad, echad bishvil kulam, all for one for all, what struggle were we planning to face? War? Poverty? Greed? Corruption? What exactly is our oppressor? I think that there is one word that encapsulates most of the struggles in this world today. That word is apathy, a lack of care or concern. Today, for the most part, we are standing in the middle of the spectrum between love and hate. As a whole, we're not totally in a state of hate. Sure, we have war, but we no longer fight and kill each other on a global scale. However, we're not making enough progress towards loving everybody to the best of their abilities. We simply aren't caring. Currently, we are in the Omer, where we refrain from shaving, listening to live music, and scheduling joyous events during this time. We do this in memory of the thousands of Torah scholars that perished from a plague during the Omer. These scholars were learning under the tutelage of Rabbi Akiva, one of the greatest scholars of his time. So why did they deserve to die if they were supposed to be on such a lofty level of holiness? To answer this question, allow me to paint a picture in your heads. Imagine a scholar walking down the street, and he has a few books. When suddenly he loses his grip on these books, and they fall to the ground. 2 fellow scholars walk by, talking amongst themselves, but not taking the time to help out their fellow man. You see, they didn't necessarily hate this scholar whom they ignored. They just didn't care. It was apathy, not hate, which resulted in their demise. Ironically, their teacher, Rabbi Akiva, strived to emphasize the importance of loving one's fellow as much as one loves himself. Rabbi Akiva went as far as to say that it is the all-encompassing principle of the entire Torah. Yet, sadly, his students didn't listen closely enough to these words. Perhaps they were uninterested in these words. Either way, they paid the ultimate price for their apathy. While these scholars were unfortunately infamous for their apathy, Conversely, the sage Hillel was famous for his altruism. He loved every person without any justification whatsoever. He epitomized loving your fellow man. I once learned that this is why his actions are commended and consequently mentioned in our Pesach Seder. In the section of Korech, we remember what Hillel did in memory of our holy temple, our Beit HaMikdash. Our temple was said to be destroyed due to baseless hatred. We bypassed apathy and reached a downright animosity for each other. Therefore, in order to counter the hatred that destroyed our temple, we need to remember Hillel in order to know whom to emulate when it comes to simple love for one's fellow. Maybe then, just maybe, we will be able to rebuild the temple that we have longed for, one act of kindness at a time. So, that begs the question, what can we do to change the world? Is it merely done by uniting, by saying all for one, one for all? Is that all we need to make an impact? Perhaps we should say it in Hebrew to further emphasize our yen for a newer, better world. No, I think it's more than that. In order to change the world, you first need to care about the challenges you face. And the only way to care is by starting to love each other. One simply cannot step in front of a challenge reluctantly or indifferently. And often, one simply cannot step in front of a task alone. This is why unity is just so important. But only when we learn to care for one another will we be able to unite, ad sheneshana olam, until the world is changed. We cannot back down until our goal is achieved. And if we fall together. But if we rise up and succeed, if we rid ourselves of the great clouds of apathy, we succeed on behalf of the entire world. Music is said to strengthen the emotional bonds between people. Not only does it unite, it makes them connect on a much deeper level. So, as the seniors of Hazimir sang these words with our arms around each other and with tears in our eyes, we knew that in order to conquer the challenges that we face ahead, we must stand together with love, all for one and one for all, never giving up until we make a difference in the world. Yachad na'amod.